Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett here with my good buddy and co-host Blake Sievers. Siebes, how's it going?
Good, Ben. A little snowstorm again today, so it's kind of the trend.
I was gonna say, do we just always pick snow days to record?
No, it's going well though. Other than that,
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm excited about our guest today. It was a good chat.
yeah, we have Candice Fabry with Iowa Soccer Association talking about the symposium.
Yeah, the Iowa Soccer Symposium. It's virtual this year, which is kind of a bummer, obviously, but everything's virtual. So, as such as our podcast.
Exactly. There you go. Good. Good little segue there. Yeah. So Candice has been putting this, obviously with the statement, putting the convention on or the symposium on now for 4 years. This will be the fourth year.
I think she said third year. We'll have to listen and find out, won't we?
We will.
Well, why don't, before we just get to it, make sure you check us out on our website, www.kifsoccer.com. And then from there, we got all the social media you can find, sign up for the supporters club. And I'm going to save my breath on rattling off all of our social media handles. But also check out the Iowa Soccer virtual symposium. You can find them at iowasoccer.org.
That's right. So yeah, we'll talk to Candice about kind of who they got coming in, how the structure is going to work, having a virtual one, and they've clearly solved a lot of the problems, but just talk a little bit about that process.
Right on, let's do it. All right, Candice Fabry, welcome to the pod. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I said, Ben, before you jumped on, she's got like a much better setup than one. We're not in our studio, but even if we were, she's got again, another guest that has a better setup than us.
You guys got to find the hookup. That's
What's the reason for all the fancy equipment you've got there? Is that a recording studio? Do you have a music career we don't know about?
Music, no. This voice is meant to yell and scream on a soccer field, not sing. I can tell you that. No, I mean, when I moved down to Kansas City about a year and a half ago and found myself being able to, forced before COVID hit, to connect virtually with recordings and webinars and registrars and club leaders, I just wanted to have some sound system where I could rely on it and know that I'm going to be clear and be able to be heard. And then I do have 2 kids and 2 dogs. And so these headphones, I'll hear someone with the really bad scream I need to hear, but the other stuff I can zone out a little bit more and be able to work when I don't need to be mom mode.
Nice.
We have some dog issues, don't we, Ben?
Yeah. I was gonna see hopefully he won't chirp us or bark at us here, but it's probable. He really likes the snow, and that's what we're dealing with. So
absolutely.
So we've kind of jumped ahead of it a little bit. Normally, Candice, our first question is, I guess, do you know what's coming at you or not?
No, unfortunately. I mean, I've listened to your guys' episode, but I'm blanking right now. What's the first question?
Well, the first question is always, is this the first pod you've ever been on?
No.
Do you want
experience?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to throw experienced, but yeah, I've done a handful of them now. Yeah.
Do you want to plug those?
Sure. The first one I did was with the Acne Fanatic. And so part of my story that is part of my coaching career and the start of my coaching career is played college soccer. And the day that I committed to stay at the university and coach was the day that my head coach sexually assaulted me. And so I came out with that story when I was a club coach in Iowa and posted it kind of around the time there was a lot of controversy on, the Me Too movement and so on. And so, finally kind of felt comfortable putting my story out there. And so, within the acne community, I had been there for several years, coached a lot of the kids that were in the community, and parents knew me. So went on the podcast to just kind of talk about, my experience and what had happened. And so that was the opening of podcast for me. So that was a super heavy one. So kind of found my way into other ones, and have done a couple, with Anna on Keeping the Game Beautiful and Cornfed Podcast, talking a little bit. And then there's the Women in Soccer Network. This is a new national network that is formed, and really some great women from across the country. So working on a podcast with them in the near future. So yeah, very cool.
Nice.
I love it. Lots of experience.
Sure. Again, I don't know if it's a lot.
Pressure's on now.
Oh no, but yeah.
Well,
You guys do a
so
good job.
I
I
mean,
appreciate it.
yeah. Well, thanks again for joining us. So usually we then like to sort of just get like the origin story, which you started to give us a little bit, but I know. Like I assume you played at some point and you grew up in the game. So why don't you just we always like to get a point of reference, and I think that's like the fun stuff to talk about. So talk about what turned you to soccer.
What got me to soccer was I was born in Kentucky. And so when I was living in Kentucky, apparently I was a naughty little girl, and I was signed up for ballet class, and I had done something. To this day, I don't even know what I did. But apparently part of my punishment was not getting to do ballet. And inevitably my parents felt bad that I wasn't doing anything. And so they called up the local Parks and Rec, and the only thing they had open was a soccer team and boys team. And so I'd be the only girl. So started it by just simply, my dad talks about to this day, he probably should have left me in ballet and saved a lot more money than putting me in soccer that early. But yeah, that's how I got into it. But we moved to Chicago when I was about 6 years old. So getting into the Chicago land area and where soccer was just, it is what it is. It's prominent. You can't, throw a stone without hitting a soccer field, indoor, outdoor, people playing pickup. So grew up in Naperville, suburb of Chicago, playing pretty much my entire life, did ODP, got to win a couple state cup championships. And
who'd you play? What club?
So I started at NSA, Naperville Soccer Association. And then when I was about 16 years old, I made the switch to Soccers, which obviously is pretty prominent on the male side back then. We were one of the first female teams to kind of come through on soccer side and start to make a name for them on the female. So it was a good experience. I mean, that was basically the ODP team for Illinois at my age was pretty much comprising that state cup team, that Soccers team. And it was Soccers and Eclipse were the two clubs that we would go head to head when we were 18, 19. So yeah.
So I'm trying to think how to tactfully ask what birth year you are for ODP.
No, that's a tactful way to really just put it out there. Yeah.
Well, so we're 84s, and we've talked to a lot of people that are like in that like early 80s.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's about where we're talking. Based on referencing ODP and soccer is the way you have so far.
Correct. So I am right around you. I'm an 85. So yeah.
Okay, so nothing to be embarrassed about.
Nothing to be embarrassed about, but I love the way that you said I'm going to tactfully ask this, and it was straight to it. But no, I had a really good age group in ODP. I mean, like 4 or 5 players went on to play at Notre Dame and, won a national championship at Notre Dame. And so I was fortunate, went from a club where I'm playing as, the 6 and a captain to, all right, you're going to play as an outside back and just follow the lead. Fantastic. I'll learn as much as I can around really great players. So, so then I was offered an opportunity to play with the University of Toledo in Ohio. So Toledo Rockets, and mid-major, and was a good level and a good, it's such a tough, Midwest division. I mean, scores are 1-0 and it's won by dragging somebody down. So I loved it. I loved the conference I was in. And it was a good experience, and went in freshman year and was playing every single minute, and thinking, this is great, but then started having a ton of back pain, and was like, how am I 18 with back pain? This isn't normal. And sure enough, by the end of the season, I kind of walked off going, something's not right. And so they did a bunch of tests and found out I had a fracture in my L4 or 5. I can't even remember at this point. And so that started about a year's worth of recovery and rehab, and something that took a lot to kind of come back from. But that's where the coaching bug kind of started to create, because I was redshirted. And the coach then was, Candice, what do you think of the starting lineup? Like, and started to pull me into video and starting to analyze, and was like, you could do this. And so that was where that kind of started, that this could be a possibility that I could want to coach when I was done playing. And I had done some little coaching things in high school with smaller and younger kids. So it was cool. It was a really good thing. And then finally got back to playing and played a couple of years, and we won the conference and got to play in the NCAA tournament. And it was a good way to kind of end the career, but knew at that time physically, like, I was done. My back was like, you're not doing this anymore.
Candice, really quick, sorry to interrupt you, but Toledo, what is that? What conference is that?
That's the MAC. So you got like Northern Illinois, Kent, Ohio, Miami of Ohio, Buffalo.
Bowling Green?
Yeah, hate Bowling Green. They're like 20 minutes away from us. I've got a couple good friends from Bowling Green, and I hate them, but I love them.
Do you know Molly Bremen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We went to high school with Molly.
Okay. Yes. I know the name through connections, but yes. Yeah. So Bowling Green was, they were the ones that, like, we would go down and hang out. We would hang out down there a little bit, but we didn't stay too long, because if we said we were from Toledo, things were going to end up not so good. But yeah, so it was, 20-minute drive down south of 75. So it was fun. It was cool. So then I got done and went right into pretty much taking my D license. Was really into, kind of got pushed that go take your D license, get into this. And so I started coaching a little bit here and there.
It was like 2008?
2007.
Okay.
2007. And so I'm starting to figure out if I'm going to stay at the university, or I'd gotten offered a grad assistant job at another university in Kentucky. And so I was trying to make a decision on what I'm doing, and decided to stay at Toledo. Was like, okay, at this time, my now husband is actually just named the assistant coach, but we're not dating, we're working together, whatever. And so he's got his A license, and the head coach at that time had his A license. And so it was like, I got 2 A licensed coaches, and I'm comfortable at the university. I know what I'm doing. I've got some club work. There's the puppy.
Good Lord.
No worries. So anyway, stuck around. What I had mentioned before, the head coach did that to me the night of, the day committing. And it was a really, really bad fall. Retrospect, I should have never stayed. It demolished a lot of self-confidence and a lot of drive and love I had for the game, because he just was not a very good person and just ruined a lot for me. But at that point, who is now my husband was someone who saw potential in me as a coach and brought me into ODP in Ohio North. So I started to expand that network, and I'm brought in, and I'm seeing coaching outside of what my experience is like at the university at that time. And what was a great experience as a player turned into a horrible fall season as a coach. But, it is what it is. And I was creating that network, trying to create some confidence around maybe I could do this, but was starting to work more in the youth game, and was like, maybe the youth is where I'm more suited for, personality wise, and just enjoyed that experience of understanding age groups and development styles and so on. And so I stuck around Ohio for a little bit and worked my way up to my B license, and was a DOC of a club. And at that point, it kind of fell for my husband, and we were, doing that whole let's get married dealio, and deciding that. And we did it in a very small ceremony in Toledo with about 20 other people, because I was not going to plan a big wedding. I don't know how to do it. I don't know colors. I don't know any of that stuff. So he was good that I was like, simple is best for me. So we did that, got married, and within 6 months, he was approached from about the Iowa Rush job. And so at that point, he came over as the assistant DOC, and I came over as a coach and registrar. And that's where we kind of found ourselves in Des Moines. And, we didn't know how long we were going to be here or be there. I guess we've moved out now, but it was 10 years later and 2 kids later. And that was how we got there. So
who were like some of the names at Rush when you guys first came?
Corbin Stone was the DOC. Yeah. So I think we arrived. So the spring, I believe, is when they did the changeover from Ankeny to Iowa Rush. I believe that was what happened. And so we came in that summer. I mean, we came into it was like the first fall meeting for the coaches, and we literally had the U-Haul, and then we pulled up to like the meeting location. I mean, we hadn't even gone to the apartment to unload anything. So we had the U-Haul and the one car on the back, and we're getting out and being like, all right, who are our teams? What are we doing this fall? I mean, you guys know that it's kind of a nomadic lifestyle, but it was fun. I mean, to have kind of my life partner, one of my mentors, and then someone who would tell me my session sucked or was good, and, you know, right at home to see and all that. But it was good. It was a good experience. I got to have a boys team right out of the gate. I had a U12 boys team, and that was my first boys team on assignment, and that was enjoyable. I mean, I had coached boys, but I hadn't had a full team for a full year, and so that was good. It was a good experience, a good walk into the community in the area, and trying to get to know everybody, because heck, I didn't know anybody from Iowa before I came in. So
who were those U12 boys?
Okay, so Will Nuri.
Okay.
He played a Drake. Yeah, Fred.
Yeah.
Friend Pong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, so you had a really good team to start out.
I will say I did. I had, and they are not just, they were good players, but like the best.
They're like really sweet kids.
They were fantastic. And, you know, I had actually gotten pregnant. And so I'm literally in the spring, like 7, 8 months, 9 months, you know, I basically had my baby right after bid day, okay, of that year.
Okay.
So I'm, you know, a fairly pregnant coach, and those boys and the way they handled it, and they had the parents threw a shower for me. I'll never forget this, through like a baby shower, and it's like gift time. And I go, boys, you can go out and play. Like, you do not need to sit and watch me open up baby gifts. None of them left. They all sat there and watched, and they all gave me a book to our son. It was, you know, I was really excited to have a son after I had this team too. They each gave me a baby book, and they each wrote in it. So it's been really kind of cool, because as I had my daughter and I'd go back to the baby books, I've got all these kids writing really cool notes about, you know, good luck being a mom, and you're a good coach, you'll be a great mom, and some of those things that are just, you know, they mean a lot. As you know, I had no idea. I'd rather be a coach than a mom at that point, because I was scared out of my mind what it was going to do. But yeah, it's a good team. So that was a good group of kids to enter into the community with.
Well, you'll be pleased to know they're still good young men.
They are. They've actually, Will and Fred, and that's why I say those two the most, they have been my interns for the last 2 years for the Symposium. Keep in contact, and when I was looking for some initial help, knew that they would be good contacts, and they had reached out just saying, hey, how could I get involved in soccer and in other ways? And I was like, here's what I need. And so, yeah, they've been the interns for the last 2 in-person symposiums with me. So
look at that segue, Sievers.
Isn't it?
That was a really good one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're jumping ahead a little bit, aren't we? Or I don't know. Do we want to do it? It's up to
So you were with Rush, and then you were with the state, right? Was there something in between? Did I miss something?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, that was kind of it. It was
okay. So thanks, Ben. All right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to diminish it. Yeah, but I want to hear about the Symposium.
Talk about like the history and like where it came from. I'd be curious. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, you know, they had done some educational offerings. I remember when I was at Iowa Rush, there was offerings, I think, occasionally up at like Iowa State. So it was kind of that symposium type idea. But I had started in April 2016, 17. I can't remember now. I think this is year 4. So whatever, do the math. They, so it was through the fall season, and, you know, we had been talking, I'd been there 6 months, and just thinking about things that, you know, in my role, which was the director of member services, you know, what else could be done? What is Iowa missing? And I had done some event type planning with the club previously, had hosted fundraiser nights, had hosted, you know, family fun days and stuff. So creating a whole event and wasn't that scary. It was just going, okay, how do I do this? So approached the idea to the staff and said, what if we looked into it? And at that time, the executive director was Harold Kaler, and, you know, said, you know, I've reached out to Kentucky because they're holding what they call the Kentucky Learning University. And so they host that in January. So my first year, I actually went to their programming and checked it out. And I actually pretended to be on the Kentucky staff all day. They gave me a shirt, and I got to hang out, and then got to go hang out in Lexington. And if you've never hung out at late night in Lexington, Kentucky, when, you know, there's not COVID, the bourbon is delicious, and the downtown is very fun. So I actually recommend highly Lexington, Kentucky, if you're in. So just got like an idea on what could be possible, you know, using Gareth Smith's connections and my connections within the soccer community. We were like, this could be a really cool opportunity to bring a one day was the original one day educational seminar, covering both the field and off the field, and not just targeting our clubs, but targeting high school programs and college programs, and just providing a holistic approach to how do you operate in soccer now. And obviously the field's super important, but we want to always balance it with a little bit of off the field. And so that was the approach. And so year one, we went into it. I know the staff was probably going, Candice, you sure? You sure? And I just remember it just kind of ran, and it was a blur. I don't know. You guys are familiar with like old school, right? You know, when Will Ferrell does the debate and he like shakes and he's like, what just happened? That was kind of my first day. Like after the first one, I was like, what just happened? But it was good. It was really positive, and the feedback was something that felt valued. And, you know, from our approach, it wasn't something that was striving to make money, but it was striving to invest in what the community could use and need, and who we could bring in, and not just on the presenter side, but on sponsors as well, and bringing different businesses and different services in that clubs or high school programs could find value in, whether we use them as partners or whether we know of them within Iowa and beyond. So, you know, people like soccer.com and Quick Goal and so on, some of those basic things, but even like the global scarves, you know, getting some clubs to have some of those different kinds of soccer culture items. So yeah, that was kind of the idea, and started it in 2 years in person and at the Iowa Event Center, which is a big facility to kind of manage and oversee, and has a lot of different dynamics when you're dealing with a facility that large. And was really, really excited to move in for 21 to a actual turf field that would be a soccer facility over in West Des Moines. That's where we were going to be this year. Everything was lined up, and then it wasn't. So that brings us to where we're at now.
So is it like almost, I drove by that place a couple weeks ago, and I didn't go inside, but it didn't look like it was close to being done.
Yeah.
Do you know?
They're a little bit, yeah. Last I heard, it's actually going to be right after the symposium is what I'm hearing, in March. Now, the amount of snow you guys are getting right now, that could be potentially not helping the situation. But yeah, I had gotten a few renderings of the inside and planning everything through the summer, what we were going to look like, and, you know, still having the idea that, you know, maybe COVID could be something that prevents it from being in person this year. But from what I saw last year, you know, and the plan is actually for 2022 to be there. We've got the date secured and all of that, but that's the plan. And it was really cool. I think it's going to provide a great environment when we can get there. You know, we had a turf field. The Barnstormers were really fortunate enough to allow us to rent the turf they used for the last 2 years at the Iowa Event Center. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is a football field, not our football, their football. And, you know, it looked good. It served its purpose, but to have a full field that we can execute really quality sessions on and give these presenters all the space they can use, and give, you know, our attendees a real look at what reality could be when they're out on the field, what those sessions run like and so on. That's going to be a whole nother level to that next year.
Well, at least all your planning hasn't hopefully gone to waste, because you can hopefully use it next year, right?
Yeah, there's some core things, yeah, that'll be taken, but for sure.
So talk a little bit about the going virtual.
Yeah, that was a decision not made entirely easily. We were working through hybrid versions, and how could we do some in person, and what safety precautions, and, you know, the facility where was that going to be in order to execute safely. And it just got to the point, it was like, this has just got to go virtual for this year. And so decision wasn't made lightly, because, you know, the feedback that has been for the last couple of years is the ability to network and be in person in one space. You know, you get events like State Cup and President's Cup and all that, where we get to be in one space for a little bit, you know, all the clubs together and all the high school programs that work through it. But this was something that was unique. You know, you get a little bit of that if you attend the USC conventions. You know, you get that taste of, you turn around and there's that club and that club and that club, and you're all together, and, you know, you might go out that night. But this was a little bit something that people were really enjoying it. And some of the clubs that aren't able to get to those other types of events and conventions, they were able to get that taste here. And so to know we would remove that portion was really hard when we made the decision to go virtual. But I think in the best interest of just everyone and knowing where things are right now, it's the best decision we could have made, and still being able to provide it. I know that was a discussion that was, it skimmed our mind for a second. Do we just cancel it completely? And that was a pretty fleeting moment of, there's no way we're not holding this. We've got to hold it in some capacity. So
I think you lose some momentum if you just
heck yeah,
cancel it and try to get back on people's radar and whatnot.
Exactly.
So presenters, and I mean, I don't know, Ben, I don't think you did, but we've been going to the convention, the US one, but they held that virtually. How do you hold a virtual lesson, or obviously a lecture is easy, like when you're sitting down, but how do you hold like a on-field session?
Yeah, so it's not easy. And if you did get the fortune of watching the USC stuff, you saw a lot of like pre-recorded stuff that they would do and analyze and discuss. And so that is going to be similar. For instance, we have Ian Barker, the known face of USC, will be back again presenting this year. And, I think that's a part of it. Always working with presenters to understand, their presentation, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, the equipment needed, that's always a part of it. But this year adds a few different elements. We're going to do dress rehearsals with all the presenters to make sure their lighting works, to make sure they're in it seems all right. So there's a couple different elements to that is just different, unique. It's not bad, but good, but it's going to be different, looking for the experience of those that maybe didn't get some glimpses into USC, where you saw a little bit lecture mode, you saw different engagement styles by our presenters. And that's what we're in the process right now of finalizing. All right, who's going to have ultra engagement, where our breakout rooms maybe going to fit into presentations, who wants everybody on camera, who doesn't maybe want everybody on camera. So some of those things that you've got to kind of work through logistically. And we've found a platform that we will host that will have the ability to have those that are registered to get access into there, be able to see and access or enter, the online performance, I guess is an okay way of saying it, but the online experience pretty easily and seamlessly. We have an event app that we've used for the last few years. I'm not going to say the app is like out of this world fantastic, but it serves a really good purpose of seeing who are our sponsors, who's in attendance, and attendees can claim profiles and add their contact information, but just gives a good glimpse who's there. What are we doing? What's the schedule look like? What's the background on presenters? The one unique thing that we will have this year that is different from last year is we won't have multiple tracks. We're going to have one presentation every hour. In the past, we've always had a couple going. USC, with the amount of money they can spend compared to us, is a little bit different. Again, they can have multiple tracks going during the hour. We won't. We'll have one selection. We've got this year the ability for the organization pass that we've offered out. This is a new offering. So instead of the per person charge, your org can pay one flat rate of $250 and get everyone in. And when I say everyone, I mean you're paid, you're volunteer, you're board. You just have to complete that pass, and then I send you a form to enter in all your folks that are going to attend. And we did that with a real understanding that not just clubs but high schools, soccer enthusiasts, it's been a tough year for everyone. So could we find a way to maximize that ability to have access? We are able to cut some cost by going virtually, not a ton of cost, but a little bit of cost. You guys don't get the sweet entry bags and some of those other things that just add it up, but you still have a quality experience, and then be able to open it up to your staff, because most of your folks maybe couldn't make the travel in. Their parents may be on the weekends and they have their own games. Now there's a virtual experience that they can chime into. We are going to be recording sessions. The goal is to be able to offer out all of those recordings to those that attended afterwards. I say the goal because there's always technology issues. And so I'm never going to guarantee every one of those recordings is going to come out, slick and perfect. And we're going to be able to say, yeah, this is a great way to view it. But that's absolutely our intention, is to record everything. So if you are in attendance, and your club is able to maybe make a schedule to have a lot of people attend, but miss something, you're going to be able to have that access post symposium. So
turn into a bit of a technology expert, sounds like.
It's taken a little bit of a learning curve. So yeah, I mean, I did 5, 6, 7, I can't remember how many demos I did, throughout the fall season, when we were just trying to figure out what options would exist if we decide to go virtual. So had at some point, I think I looked at everybody and said, all right, I am planning 2 whole events right now, knowing I'm only going to execute 1. So whenever we can get to the point of just going, this is the one we're going to do, I'm going to cut my work in half. So the sooner we can get there, the better. But in that preparation, it was really cool to kind of see what that's going on, and got a glimpse into what USC was doing. So that's always a good format to kind of copy paste and go, okay, how can we fit it into what we're trying to do? But wanting to ensure that we're offering, a good service and a good product, and offering as many sessions as we offer in a one day, we decided to expand. And that's where we're going to a Saturday and a Sunday experience. All day Saturday. Sunday, we're going to start in the later morning, give people the chance on Sunday morning to do, whatever, they need to do personally, and be able to then enter in the late morning and join us for the afternoon. We're going to have a Friday night, what we're going to call like an opening ceremonies and a tech check. So you're actually going to get in, and there'll be the opportunity to kind of get in, see this platform, make sure your technology works so that you're really ready for the weekend. And then our partner Demisphere, who does our online registration, clubs that belong to Iowa Soccer will be able to have a session with them to work on some best practices. But for everyone that's, maybe not in the registration world and not necessarily an Iowa Soccer member, because we do have clubs from outside. Not everyone is Iowa. We've got definitely people from outside the state that are registered and coming in for this. They're getting an opportunity to kind of check and make sure everything's working for them, and hopefully join us for Friday night and then be ready to go Saturday morning. So
you mentioned the format a little bit, and then you've talked about how you kind of end up missing out on the networking piece. Mm-hmm. Is there some way that you're trying to, like, I don't know, hold like a virtual happy hour or do something like that? Or I don't know if that would even work, but I'm just curious, because I think that's the thing I would look forward to the most. And this is like, fine, show me a bunch of sessions, but I just want to see everybody.
Yeah, there's some talk of adding that on Saturday night where, I think we're going to toss it out there and see how many people attend. The virtual ones that I've done that have been the happy hours, you go in and you break out into breakout rooms, and maybe there's a topic thrown out or whatever. And there's definitely going to be the encouragement to grab a beverage of your choice, because that's how we've ended the last few years, the Symposium, a good social network opportunity, and a little laid back atmosphere. So yeah, that's the intention, to throw some of that in on Saturday night. I know we had thrown an idea out about having a trivia night added afterwards. I don't know if we're going to get to that. That's a little bit more logistics than I'm ready to handle right now, but we've got some cool different things that we're going to release that weekend that I can't say right now, but there's going to be some cool stuff that we're going to be able to talk about that weekend, for exciting stuff for players, exciting stuff for coaches and clubs. So I'm going to leave it there. Little Easter egg that you'll have to
love it.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
All about a good teaser.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some of the guests? I mean, you mentioned Ian Barker, but I mean, you've got quite the lineup. It's extensive for sure.
I'm not going to lie. I am super stoked about Catherine Whitehill. Obviously, female presenters are tough to get in sometimes, and wanting to ensure that we've got representation of the game by our presenters. And so Catherine Whitehill, a former national team player, somebody I had looked up to as, college coach currently. So she's going to be on the lineup, which is, again, I'm geeking a little bit on that one. We've got some others, from the technical perspective. We've got, Willie McNabb, Tony Asgar from Dundee. We've got David Adams from FA of Wales. I mean, you've
so they're running sessions.
They're going to be running, and I don't have all of the topic details. And part of that is we do hold that. And as we're working right now, part of the logistics is ensuring that you guys aren't going to see like the same session over and over again. So we're working through that right now. But yeah, they'll be having either sessions they're running or specific topics they're going to address, maybe data analytics and different things like that. The idea, though, is to ensure that we are hitting kind of every level within the game. So ensuring there's some topics that are going to be applicable, to grassroots. Some that are going to be more applicable to our teams that are competing at a higher level, whether that's state cup or in the high school programs, those that are competing for state cup or state championships and so on. So kind of varying and making sure all those levels are hit, which isn't an easy task. And definitely with the caliber of presenters we have, you're kind of going, what is like the coolest thing they could present on? And, definitely getting that is sometimes it's a great thing. It's just a lot of logistics to put together. But, with those guys lined up, Paul Bright from the coaching manual, he was in 2 years ago. He did a great job. He's going to be returning this year. And the coaching manual is going to be a sponsor as well. So those are sometimes some of the great privileges we have, is bringing in good soccer companies with good presenters. So yeah, Paul's going to be, he's a great personality. With that is too, I'm really excited. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, and I apologize, and I should, but he said it one time to me, and I don't want to screw it up, but his first name is Essie, and he is a former World Cup referee, and he is with Colorado Soccer Association. Essie, if he was a part of the most controversial World Cup decision by a referee. So if you haven't checked that all out and you don't know what I'm talking about, for like 36 hours, he was the most despised man on the planet in the football soccer culture. And come to find out, he was very right and completely right on his call that he had made. So I'll tease it there so you guys go research and find out if you're listening into this, because I am very excited. I got to talk to this gentleman and just the experiences he's had as a referee, and he's going to speak to the coach referee relationship and trying to, try to speak to both lines, and how do we have solidarity on the field, and how do we understand what each other is experiencing, what we're seeing, how do we talk. So that's a different one that we haven't necessarily brought into previous symposiums, the referee point of view on a discussion. So that's a definite one to check out. In terms of some others on the more administrative but not technical side, we've got Josh Obiola from Players Health. He's going to be talking about how to report player abuse, and not just if the things you see, but the things you might suspect. And what do you do? And that's with Safe Sport out, and that requirement coming out a couple years ago, and clubs having that responsibility, and as coaches being mandatory reporters, understanding and knowing what tools you have. So I think that's a really crucial one, that if you're a coach on the field, absolutely get all those technical sessions, absorb them, get the activities, go be planning them to put them out the spring. But at the same time, making sure you're not missing out on these other things that might be crucial, that you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know that opportunity that you're going to have to step in and potentially be a savior for a kid that might be in a really bad situation. So not to go heavy on that, but those are things that I think are important that people understand about your role as a coach, especially in the youth world. We've got another one with Ruth Nicholson, who is going to talk about managing volunteers. And I think that's such a crucial one, whether you're a high school program with volunteer parents as team managers or team coordinators, even deciding, who's got the team dinners that night and how that's going to go and what you're serving, to the club environments, whether you're an entirely volunteer-based club or you've got, maybe a paid staff of volunteers underneath it. Learning to manage those and having some tips and tricks on how do you do it, because that's a whole nother scope of things. Is volunteerism just seems to have gone down, and it's harder and harder to get a wide scope of people to come in. It seems like the same people are always volunteering everywhere. I know as I had kids and I started to go to basketball and other sports, I was like, that dad is also a soccer volunteer coach, and he's also the basketball volunteer coach. And so how do we as organizations set structures better to invite and oversee volunteers a little bit better? So Ruth's going to talk about that, which again are, I think, just all applicable subjects that are that not just on the field, off the field importance as well. So I'm trying to look and see if I'm missing anyone. If you guys got any questions about others?
I want to know, Catherine Whitehill, what's she going to talk about?
I actually don't know yet. I don't know that topic, and I'm really upset I don't know the final topic yet. I know the ideas, but that is going to be one. And she, as one, the experience alone is something that is, I could just hear about being, a World Cup Olympic player on the female side, and hearing it from a player that wasn't, the Mia Hamms or the Michelle Akers or the Carly Lloyds, hearing it from some of those different players that were vital to success, but not necessarily in the forefront of everyone who, maybe watches here and there and knows that player. Catherine was definitely a player that contributed in a lot of ways. And so hearing her role and all of that, I'd love to hear that part, but I believe she's running a session with some technical application. So that is where she'll go. She's on the college side right now. So I expect that probably the topic areas will be more applicable to the older age groups.
Fair enough. I was kind of thinking I'd like to hear the other part too, but
It's
fair.
maybe she'll throw in some as well. We've got some moderators that are going to be handling those discussions, and so I
If
believe
only you knew somebody with some pull.
Yes. So yeah, I get that privilege of going, you're going to ask these questions, please. But yeah, no, and there'll be definitely opportunities that people that are in or be able to ask questions, and we'll try to plug as many of those in as we can.
So are you going to be actually able to enjoy it a little bit more than you would normally?
I'm wondering that. I'm going to be really honest. So like I said, we're in Kansas City now. My husband is the DOC of the Kansas State Youth Soccer Association. So about a year and a half ago, he was here for a few months on his own, but me and the kids joined him. And so out of the kindness of their heart, I am going to be borrowing the Kansas State Youth Soccer office for that entire weekend. So I'm basically kicking their staff out of their own office. But fortunately, they don't have much going on that weekend, so that I can not be at home and I can have blank canvas to do what I can do and get done what I need to get done. But I think, I'm not going to lie. Last year, I was at the Iowa Events Center. The field was supposed to be set up, I think, by 10 o'clock that night. So I got the outside set up, the rotunda area, and then went to dinner and came back, and the field was just getting started laying out, and it was like 10 o'clock. So they were going, we expect to be done about 2 a.m. And so none of the inside was done, and none of the, the vendor tables, and I was like, okay. So a privilege, I call it a privilege for my husband. He doesn't use that same word, but a privilege of being, Mr. Fabry, is he got to wake up with me at 4 a.m. And I had Fred and Will on call saying, I will let you know how far Paul and I get. I'm not going to make you come in at 4 a.m., but I may tell you at 6 a.m. to get your tail over here fast, because we're not moving fast enough. But fortunately, we were able to get things done. So it was about 4 a.m. to by the time dinner happened, and the social networking that must occur after the dinner at the end of the night with everybody in celebration of a long day, it'll be about a 20-hour day. So this one, it'll be a long weekend, but yeah, it'll be good. I'm excited to actually hear presentations. I think I have to come in and out of those a lot of times just to check and make sure things are going and get the next one. But yeah, I hope to hear some of the information, because I do coach. I'm just got named the associate head coach of the USWS Casey Kurt's team down here, the Pro-Am women's team. So I do coach still.
Oh, breaking!
Yeah,
is that breaking news?
This is kind of breaking. You guys are the first ones to hear that. So that just happened. Yeah. So I'm excited to get that. I coach now Kansas ODP as well. So obviously active on, the more administrative sides, but also enjoy, working with players. And so get to hear some of the sessions. I'm excited.
That's kind of like really the ironic thing that, like, you got all these great people coming in, but as with your role, you don't usually get to sit down and actually and take away.
It is, and that's why I always count. I'm like, what'd you like? And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I should have heard that one. But no, I mean, that's a great part about the network that gets created by doing an event like this, is connecting with other people that will say, hey, this was a great presentation done in Massachusetts, or, this was at USC and we really enjoyed it. And then Gareth and I can kind of start using our network and our time to get things rolling, because we're even starting to figure out 2022. We're always about a year ahead of trying to get people to confirm. And we want to get further and further ahead, that we have, one of those events that people count on, that the high level presenters are like, no, I want to be on that. You want to do USC, and then you want to do Iowa Soccer Symposium. That's our goal. And I feel like we're getting closer to that people are reaching out. And, last year a little bit, and this year we actually had people going, could I present? Which I think is a great thing, that they're looking and hearing good things about how the events run. And honestly, the attendees make it. You guys that are there, that's what makes the event. I could set it up, but if no one comes, that's a whole different ball game. So, the people that attend and the questions they ask and the energy they bring to sessions, that's what makes the difference. And so, super appreciative of everyone that's attended over the last couple of years, and hoping that we can replicate some of that energy virtually and have a little bit of that. So our presenters are like, this is awesome. This is everything I heard it would be. And then, hopefully getting back to a more in-person experience next year.
Well, it sounds like you're at least taking proper steps to make it happen. Hopefully, it all comes together well. And we really appreciate you coming on and talking about it. It sounds to me like I need to buy myself a ticket. I just want to hear this Essie guy talk about the refereeing situation.
Yeah,
You've got me. You've got my interest peaked. Candice.
Good. Yes, that's one that I think people are. I know in the referee community, and I need to be better about being more understanding and more knowing of it. I've started to pick up on more female referees just with all the female initiatives I'm a part of and trying to do, and trying to be more aware of who are the higher level ones. But I said Essie actually to Dan Cataldi, and his eyes got huge. He goes, "I didn't know you got him," and I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, that's cool." And I'm like, "Okay." So like, if you're stoked, okay, we're doing something. I think the referees are going to be peaked. And for coaches that don't know who he is,
she knows who she's playing to, though, doesn't she?
Smart.
She's like, let's make sure the executive director is happy about this.
Hey, you got to make the boss happy. If you want to keep your job, that's part of it, man. So yeah.
No, I love that. That's great. Well, we're looking forward to it. We really appreciate you again joining us, and hopefully we'll get to do it again sometime soon.
Absolutely. And people who want to buy either the org pass or individual, you can go to iowasoccer.org and go under the you got to go to the
Very good.
You're off without plugging that.
Yeah, you got to have that. So yeah, and thanks to all of our sponsors that have been involved in helping this go. So we're excited, guys, and hopefully you guys can join us. So
great.
Awesome. Thanks, Candice.
Thanks, Candice.
Thanks, guys. All right. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Blake. That was a fun chat. I'd never really spoken to Candice at length before, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah, she's personally easy to talk to, and again, there's always you always go in with one way, hey, let's talk about the symposium, but everybody's got a little backstory, and cool hearing some of the kids, she grew up started coaching, now they're adults and graduated college and whatnot.
Yeah, I think she's a great role model for all young people, but especially for young ladies looking for somebody that's kind of been on a similar path potentially. So pretty cool. Let's make sure we shout out for everybody. The symposium, the dates are February 27th and 28th, Saturday and Sunday here in a few weeks. So definitely get registered, www.iowasoccer.org. And then you can reach out to Candice directly too, right, Blake?
Yeah, and they've got sponsorship opportunities available, vendor opportunities available. Candice, just reach out to Candice at Fabry, which is CFABRY at iowasoccer.org.
Perfect. Well, hope everybody, I guess, you're not going to hear this, but I hope everybody is staying warm and safe. And hopefully now that it's like a week or so later, it's warm, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Is it, Blake?
We'll find out. But yeah, so there's some exclusive teases in the episode today, which I loved. So
true.
Hopefully everybody caught those, and we'll get registered so they can find out actually. I don't know what else, how to finish that, Ben, but
yeah, just the things. Find out the things. All right. Well, thanks, Blake. Thanks again to Candice and Iowa Soccer, and see you guys next week.